Okay. We are here at the International Day of Play, and my friend Larry Sternberg is going to share a bit with us on going places with fictitious things, something like that.
Okay. So, this is what we're going to play with legs. So, each of you three are a team. Okay. You use both sides and keep with that. Somebody comes in. There we are. Are you going to join it?
I'm absolutely going in.
Great. And so this is what you're going to do. This is a time event. So your assignment is to build something out of these that symbolizes hope. So the three of you have to get together to decide what it is you're going to build. And then you build it. Okay? You have 15 minutes. Go.
Something about fairly new. Okay, you can. I don't know. I don't know. I'm trying to think of like $11 million or like I'm $10 a class, but like a little like firefly, they will go after all the best. But like something. Well, we can get it for the body. Well, I think that's how I mean, I'm kind of yeah, but I thought it was like all of the like 50s. Yeah, like that. Let's bring up that out, but then there was I like that. Yeah, after opening a steel jar with box, $55. She actually really all the communities. On its body. Okay. So I think there's a hope right now how it will work. With yours, so I would think that we'll feel like ugly things outside of the house. And then build something pretty. This maybe someone even decided over the sun or decided to shine on. For people to build the box, with the box being colorful, let's make the box colorful. Yes, yeah. Well, not because the sun is but yeah, make it make it beautiful. And then it's also I feel like we need to have some music.
Oh, that's actually easily accomplished. What kind of music we want?
Full stuff. You're doing the sun.
I'm doing the sun. You're doing all the things. He's with the
He's doing the box.
You can join either group. They're building a symbol of hope out of life. What? Symbol of hope. The point. They've all agreed on what to build.
And they're working.
That was the first part.
Split it up.
Are you welcome to join? Oh, yeah.
Outside of the box, like all the stuff is with that. Also, for summary.
That's all. I don't keep taking.
The act of lost true. I can make it bigger.
I brought a chair.
Oh, thank God. I think it's great. You guys realize me well. It's one time not proud when I was a child. So, take recordings and lengthen those.
That's all. Not.
He's putting the action box and he's putting the ugly skin stuff outside of the box.
Exercise.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we have. And I was saying, no, I had to just yeah. I guess the actual thing I guess I think it's side out. I've seen it. Apart, so
I just took the handle.
oh,
Because if you have it,
yeah, that's how the picture.
then I can. What? It's like the.
Yeah, it's like like Baer. Yeah, I've had it. I'm doing kind of things like I'm so for it's not I went from your phone. I went to game so like it's not just but we think like so yeah. And that one thing oh really? I decided they should have nations. This is
Did you guys, I should be joined, but
this is nice.
I didn't ask him.
I mean, I was just thinking about
Okay, tonight. I wanted to take this.
I guess I know what weird spots.
I'm gonna look at what we get. Unless you know it's available.
Wouldn't it be great that actually go back to Omaha, pick up something, go. We have a big parties. So you just send them to be, they'll be advice.
I've been really looking at it. This was scheduled. Then they. Just fun. You're just. Building is science. Airplanes fly.
It's sort of free, but also they can figure out. So it's fine. We make plans. It's looking so even easy. Light at the end of the tunnel. Beautiful. There's your first. I
played with Naples. And it's been doing like the last 5 years. Figures out all these things. If you print it on web, and you can say it's interesting. Designs. But I thought making it.
I didn't into just. That was my first attempt. That's my first run on my. I don't really got taken a little. Yeah. That's inside a full wide effect. I mean, that's, I don't know. It's not all of it. It's kind of like a counting thing. It's like. The exercise involved in sleep.
gotta have a discussion, just so, you know. it's different. You lost the cat.
Yeah, I like mentioned it. But I'm saying, I think that there's me so fun. I gotta go stand right next to them in the radio. Have to be and people are like so like so. It's got a huge stash with like James and all that. So it's like I know that it's probably like like it's speaker.
Yes. Before you leave, you must be there. Oh, art studio. Oh, yeah, there's lots of models. Here.
Okay. The 15 minutes is up. And as I say, this activity wasn't about necessarily completing whatever it was you were building. It was about changing and the conversation about what you wanted to build. And then moving forward, leading the process. And you guys are very focused on that. So, I'm gonna start with the three of you, the four of you. What's it to decide to build? Somebody now needs to.
Fine, and of course, if you all like this idea of flooding and experiencing and letting the tunnels, but for like plants, power things that are reaching up and seeking out, but also at the end, that's the mention one thing that also has very real best aspects, which has in later.
So one of the things I noticed from your marks, how you decided, you decided to build something that incorporated everybody's thoughts about what symbolized hope. And let's go over here. What were you guys building?
Yes, so I don't know, I just kind of thought about the Pandora's box,
Okay.
where it's like she opens the box and then all this horrible stuff comes out, but then the last thing that comes out is hope. So it's like even though there's all the scary stuff, we still have hope. So it's made a box with a little sunshine thing to symbolize hope, and then made a little spooky skull and a spider for the pets.
Well, so my personal bias is obviously the fact whatever I'm doing, and right at the moment, I would say that Pandora's box might be a symbol for what's going on today. Although there's a lot of scary stuff, there's also. So I think that's an interesting choice. How difficult was it for you all to agree on?
We were a little bit intense. You just had to go with the first thing.
Okay. Yeah, so you were able to figure out who was doing what. When you had a person join late, how did you incorporate that person into your play?
Scraped up some.
Kind of stuff in pieces for me.
Not that all right.
So
How did you incorporate?
I could see that they had separated the colors out into the groups. You had the grays and whites and the blacks and the stronger colors. So I just used to use extra.
Okay. So when you're sleeping. Some else when you finish.
Family does anyway.
Doesn't feel. Interesting thing about talking. Sometimes there's a book that involves the talking. And it just doesn't feel good for somebody to go, you're done. Before you finish. Before you finish. what you're
At a daycare and it's definitely hard. Sometimes when a kid that isn't done what they're thinking, they have to switch.
And there's like something, yeah, okay, no problem. So it depends on, you can be in the moment, enjoy the process, or you can be really attached to an outcome. We were talking about not really being attached to an outcome there, because you knew an outcome was going to emerge, but it wasn't a predetermined outcome that you were attached to. So sometimes play involves being attached to a goal. Sometimes it just, is throw and catch a game. There was a philosopher named Wittgenstein, really studied the use of language. And one of the interesting things for him was what constitutes somebody in that game. And throwing catch is a difficult one, because there's no sort of keeping. There's no way to do it wrong. And nevertheless, people say, let's play, throw and catch. So it's something, and there's a debate about whether or not it's a game in the world of philosophers who don't have anything better. But in any event, any questions arise for you about play as a result of the two things we've done this morning?
I have a question. In fine art, we are okay with doing play, we make stuff, but out in the world, with a business week, people who are counting pennies, are they okay with play?
Well, the answer is some are and some are not. I mean, you get to hear my biases. My biases that work on it. Fun. No, nothing's fun all the time. Even in here, what you're doing is you're not having fun all the time, right? But there ought to be, in my opinion, there ought to be a bias on the part of leaders that not just merely it's okay to have fun, but we ought to figure out how to have fun. And I'm sure all of you have read these things about this Silicon Valley office space that has foosball and all kinds of things for people to have fun. But in those cases, it's a break from what they're doing. It's not part of their work. It's a break from their work, which is hard. But I think people can have fun, whatever the work is, while they're doing it. I had a colleague who occasionally used to have fun sock day. And everybody in her department would wear the weirdest socks they could acquire and come to work. There's we used to I know people don't like the word hate, but we used to I don't know what synonym is for hate. We used to hate the employees in a very fun way. We, for instance, after somebody had been there a few weeks, we'd do something like take all the furniture out of the office and fill it up with balloons. We did another one where we took everything in somebody's cubicle and wrapped it in aluminum foil. Every single thing, and it was in their cubicle, was wrapped in aluminum foil. And what happened as a result of this stuff is people knew they were accepted. People knew, okay, I'm now one of this group. I've been accepted. So there's lots of ways to incorporate play in any sort of work that people do, but not everybody likes it. There was a time when I was in a company that had have all hands meetings every day, just to start the day. And I decided I was going to tell a joke At the end of the meeting, before everybody left, I decided I was gonna tell a joke. And I did that for about 4 weeks. And, the CEO came to me and said, stop. And, I, of course, said, okay, the CEO wanted, instead of a joke, the CEO wanted a trivia question. Which is a form of play. But, so it depends on, there are people who don't like play. And, you can pretty much look at their face, know they're. But anyway, I'm trying to catch up a little on time here. So, thank you very much for participating. If you would put the pieces back in the little suitcase, I intend to donate these Legos somewhere so people can continue to enjoy it. You don't have to put it back in whatever order, just dump it. I'm never go to Hoppy Town and give them these things and say, give this something. So that
Let's give Larry a hand. Okay,
Hernandez. They're applicant for play, mediator. There's restrooms down you cross the hallway and then down to the right. Is that the restroom? Are they restrooms on this side too? Okay, there's multiple restrooms. If you care for beverage, there's energy drinks and sparkling water. And vitamin and you're going to learn some more of the games with part of some art students from early to the 20th century and Scholz. There with that some of those things here. Do we need any props to anything or? Yeah, I'll talk about it a little bit. Okay. So everybody's stuff. So I love how we use library, some libraries, second floor of Arden. But today I'm going to talk about surrealist games primarily and creative play. Showing a bit of some music in our adaptations of the game stuff and playing stuff in the 1990s. These surrealist game events in the library. But I think the really cool thing about these games is that you can really sort of those these things yourself. I have you go to the online version of the scheduling events for today. There's a link on there you can click to an article that I've written out of surrealist game parties. And there's a link within that article that you can click on. Take you to a file that's beautified. That I can download and set for documents. That's right. Plays a little bit of musical games. Those out one per page and set them up like your own stage and as games play your own games. They end up looking like so the ones I've been using the last here. I put it fancy paper. So the document would kind of give you all these different pages on my example itself. Say like, well, there are games table, visual games table, games table. But I guess first I'll start with a little bit of the history of these games, which really kind of connects, as I was saying, to radio art movies in the early 20th century. I guess first we briefly start with futurists. They started out in Italy, where Hernandez published his first futurist manifesto in the manifesto's activities followed other futurists and songs and futurists also started from around 1912. These artists were considered a number of ways to reevaluate the way we use arts, visually, musically, the beginnings of filmmaking, even social engagements, and food as a manifestation of creativity. That's what finds in the future spoke of. We're celebrating and incorporating modern age. Incorporating machines, factories, traffic, war, these ways, and all these things. Those websites. One started in 1950s.
spouse, government, and most part features of the region that disappeared. Yeah, one. Yeah, it's with this sort of continuum of breakdown the traditional flow considerations within the arts. On the other side of World War I, we have the artists who sort of anti-Western Dada movement. They found one another in Arden, Survey energy. Most of them were newly minted veterans who World War I, left to figure out what might come after the brand faster. The attendant order was intensely personal hand-to-hand combat and in place for trust in the institutions and experts of our parts of both for stating such intense hostility toward one another, son fractured forms of past and begin anew. So Tristan Tzara wrote the first Dog Manifesto in 1918, and shortly after that, the group started to move beyond Switzerland to Europe at large, particularly suddenly in Paris and Italy. Paris is where Tzara moved in 1919, where he joined staff of Literature magazine. Dada was like up in it, not very well organized or defined, and its vaguely reluctant leaders like Tzara and people of all weren't particularly aggressive about defending it. So around 1920 and 21, Tzara and NFL artist and writer Henri Breton had public and private disagreements about the movement, which led to Breton writing a piece called Drop Everything that was published in Literature magazine in 1922, which declared the death of Dada. Naturally, Breton had his own replacement in mind already, combining more or less the same spirit of Dada with some new concepts about the subconscious mind from the new field of psychology, dream analysis, Freudian psychoanalysis. And he published the first Surrealist manifesto in 1924. He described Surrealism as pure psychic automatism, with the goal of artists getting beyond the formalities and conventions of society in their work by tapping into the subconscious mind. And one of the best ways to do that was through a series of games that they developed. Some games are essentially old carryovers of Dada techniques, collage and montage approaches, while others were modifications of old parlor games like Consequences. Later, some of the games that they were using developed into children's games like Mad Libs, so you may already be familiar with a lot of these ideas and techniques through Mad Libs if you ever play those. Now, when I became involved with these games, I was in music school in the mid-1990s, and I won a contest that included a gift card to the Pattern Cover in Denver. One of the books I picked up with that card was a book of Surrealist games, which is this book here. It's a tiny little pocket anthology, which contains all the historical games that the editors can track down. It was not in print for a while, but it is back in print. I just looked this morning, and you can get this again, which is really cool. And you can find PDFs of it online too. The internet, it wasn't available in print. Used copies are still going around too. I started hosting Surrealist game parties in all kinds of different formats. We did them in coffee shops and diners, in my dorm room, at people's houses. Everybody really loved doing them. In more recent years, I haven't done them as often, but I still try to host them once or twice a year. Since I was mostly around music students initially, we naturally added some musical adaptations of the games. Andre Breton was kind of a prickly person, to put it diplomatically, and he didn't really care for music. So the original games were all visual, literary in nature. And we incorporated related concepts like, say, William Burroughs and Brian Geison's cut up and fold in techniques with tactic. We added those to the parties using old magazines and books that we could cut up and play with as we did the games. I should mention, though, as a music librarian, that even though Breton and the Surrealists didn't focus on music, there were musicians loosely affiliated with these early 20th century art movements. The Futurists, in particular, were very interested in music. And we do have a book at the library that features many of music-related manifestos by Luigi Russolo, Sony, Patella, and a few others called the Art of Noise. We also have a book called The Music of Dada, which details music in that movement. The most prominent composer involved with Dada is arguably Eric Satie, who's from he was directly involved with Dada from roughly 1920 to 24, but he's also indirectly responsible for the term Surrealism as it was used by Joan Mapliner in the program notes for his 1917 ballet Raid. If anybody wants to check those books out and you have your library card with you, I can take your number down. I have it with me. So I can check out where we want stuff. Grab the wrong thing here. So why would a person want to play these games? Having done this dozens of times, just a couple of quick overview things. They're fun. They're a perfect opportunity to let your guard down and just have some fun. The results of the games are often hilarious. You're in good company, hopefully surrounded by friends new and old. Just happens to be good for the mind, and the soul as well. They stimulate the subconscious. There's no right way to play these games, but the original players, in many sense, have suggested trying to write or draw very quickly without thinking to the greatest extent possible, just let ideas then flow through you. The Surrealists refer to this notion as automatic writing or automatic drawing. Not only does this keep things moving, but the process In theory, brings your subconscious mind to the surface. You learn a lot more about yourself and your friends by exposing the subconscious like this. You find there are often stranger, more fantastic, more potent ideas available there. And you suddenly realize how much we civilize ourselves into more subtle, sensibly refined ways of thinking. They stimulate creativity. No matter how you play, one thing is certain, these games are a powerful tool for stimulating creativity. How you decide to use the results is up to you, and of course, it depends on what you get. Even the surrealists use the results of these games in different ways. Sometimes you get a great starting point for a larger work. Sometimes you find a finished or nearly finished short work. And sometimes just the act of playing the games inspires you to try something completely new and different. Even if you're not collaborating, I do know a few folks who play solitaire versions of the games in search of the unexpected, kind of within their own mind and their own controlled language set, I guess I would think of as like just keep an open mind and enjoy both your time with the games as well as any useful results or feelings of inspiration. They create synergy. I'm always amazed at how on target the results of these seemingly random games can be. I think the games often function as a catalyst for reaching these really synergistic group mind, collective unconscious spaces that are difficult or impossible to achieve other ways. It's hard to say if it's synchronicity in a union sense or simply human nature looking for patterns emerging from chaos, but regardless of what it is, the results are pretty cool. And they foster friendships. If you invite some people along that you don't know very well to your surrealist games, or old friends bring new friends along, this is a great way to quickly establish friendships. The games themselves give everyone something to focus on collectively, and the results again tend to be sort of humorous. So depending on what people write out, I guess. So we don't have a ton of time, of course, but I wanted to quickly just test maybe a couple games out. If folks wanted to divide maybe into two groups, I think doing the musical games here is going to be tricky, so let's just try out. We'll try maybe one writing and one literary game. So maybe if you want to gather, say writing games over here and literary games, or writing games here and visual games here. And then I'll hand out some papers and we can see if it's right. We can mix them too. You don't have to. We can mix them up. I'll start by just getting out some like paper. I can say sorry. It's asking obvious which game. Oh, sure. Okay, so I'll quickly describe these two names, and then you can decide for one. It's totally fine. I think I do have some pens. If you'd rather use a pen, that'd be totally fine too. But I think the two that we'll do, we can try the exquisite corpse will be the drawing game we'll do, and questions and answers will be the literary game. So we'll start with the drawing game. For the exquisite corpse, basically start by some people fold the paper in thirds. You can pull it really hard, you know. If you just do a drawing, it'll say a little corner of the paper like so. You pull it in such a way that just a couple of lines are sticking out, and then pull it so again the next person all they see is just a couple of lines. They send it on from there at people and so forth. So that you still will end up being things kind of like these for things kind of work as we like to work. So when you pass off to the next person, generally all they see then is just being a lot of does that make sense? Everybody?
Okay, so the first person something, then
Yeah, whether you can start drawing in a spot, I mean, once you're done,
also not like relations to know it's
right.
okay.
Yeah, it's basically some person that's so continue drawing about going on the questions and answers. Yeah, if you want to literary game. Questions and answers is probably my favorite of literary games. I'll grab an example of that here too. This one, what you do is you write 3 questions. I kind of do it in 3 columns. You write 3 questions at the top of the page, And then write kind of the context for the question, will that go up, when, where, why, so the person answering is what I personally meant. And then just fold the paper so that they just have to answer buttons. They write 3 answers, and then they write 3 questions. And then the context of those questions. They so that
They don't.
so you're answering questions that you don't know are. And yeah, you get really interesting things. Like I'm going to use them. So this person wrote why the trees fell. The answer was is the angry god. Sorry, but it's not only a lonely man and the probably one side. How long does it take to build a house? Sometimes they don't work. Where do we go? It's interesting things about. So yeah, right now 3 questions. And then very well and rely and just like why so yeah. Start by writing 3 questions, kind of like so like think about yeah, once you answer questions, you write 3 questions right now.
Like, if you write a question, everybody has a question, and then we like go around the world, and then one person has to pick like the next person.
Yeah, so here's 2 one. So the next person gets the what it is, those 3 things.
Oh.
Yeah, it's hard to show what's they're already down. It's like they're going to be finished. Yeah, that's kind of the idea.
And it's there. Oh, again, little lines there.
Yeah, so
And.
Your masculine.
Oh, sure, yeah.
My answer.
I mean, it might work very easy too, for us, if you want to. Yeah, I'm sorry, it was. Everything else.
Oh, right.
One next. Okay, we'll look at it later, right? Yeah.
Oh, it's supposed to be answers.
Right. Yeah, so the next person depends on the same question.
But they only answer 3 questions. That's a maybe I played that 13 minutes. Pretty awesome. Oh, I don't know how am I gonna forward the thing. I think we can finish it up because it's already had paper. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, it was wondering, yeah, it's just like, or we like, I don't know, it seems like I played a similar game, but I feel like it was a little different. So it's the game I played, everyone came up with a question, and everyone came up with an answer, but then we'd like scramble the answer with how much, yeah, but I think it's like the 6. So do you do, you write a question and an answer?
Yeah, usually you just answer the questions that you can see and then you write it.
And then you write a question that was that the answer would make sense too, but then you pull down the answer.
Well, then you just write 3 questions of your own.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so you alternate questions.
Yeah, that's it. There's some kind of similar games like there's a conditional game that there's an interesting, I guess, then statement. So all the initial statements would be like if something happens, and then the next week.
Oh yeah, because we played like what if or whatever, it was like what if questions.
Oh, you can.
And then it was then we like so everyone would write one, we put it in like a hat, and then everyone would drop one, and then we go around the circle, and then it's like the next person would read their answer as if it's the one for the questions before it.
You totally could, yeah.
Yeah.
The Dawkins folks did some things, kind of more similar to that. Sometimes they're writing poems, but not words on my hat.
Yeah.
Where they would have some basically it's kind of ways of creating like asynchronous and or new synchronous, like unexpected. Yes.
Little space down here.
Yeah, let's see. Guys, such a lot. So I'm free to reveal what we got. You know that after parties and whoever was at the parties essentially we often appear the rules in terms of like I'll scan things to access the copies people if they want to use them or anything. You kind of consider that to be sort of like human property of sorts where you are inspired to use the games to kind of make your own art or send it to somebody else who do that. It's kind of all part of the
Yeah.
juxtapositions, unusual things.
Yeah, sometimes you get a sense of looking at the drawings, like, of how Salvador Dali's art sometimes turns out, things sort of name from the trains and be faded.
Well, on TV, great.
Yeah, that's great. So it's playing black hair and it's over here. Yeah.
That's pretty sure.
See, we have a couple, I think we can make people on these, so. Where you grow up, we've got two engines you can use, infinite exam. See, why you're here for fun, or was it weird for you? So yeah, there's things like that that you might have done. So yeah, it's some interesting, interesting results. If you end up, sometimes with all these, we have say a cycle like 10, some of the 10, 20 people, that all cycle through all this. This was really fascinating. Just ones that are some like hilarious and some are like little marketing, almost very poetic. That's great. Yeah, what's our dinner dog? Can see all. That's great. Where are we? What's your favorite animal? For instance, entomology. I mean, that's weird. Like, right? Yeah, so sometimes it's like these interesting synchronicities out of it. So yeah, really cool. So, yeah, do you have any questions at all? Looks like I gotta keep you guys on to the next stuff.
Let's give Scott a hand. Okay. So the next thing is going to be out in here, into the next room. So if everyone can head that way, well, I'll head that way. Yeah.
Hey, we'll be right back again.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, good. I'm gonna get like something like
yeah.
See, this guy and I are going to do a reading now. This is the script.
This is
Oh, that's the script.
You have to read all that, we're just doing this on.
You did it before. That's all this
I'll do the,
You'll do the,
I'll do, yeah, I'll do this.
we have the copy. Rage, rage. I didn't know they were gonna be reading it. If you want to. So you want to. Yes. I do.
Oh, set.
You were the. No, Nick.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Oh. Overall.
I'm Hernandez, and this was just a little bit silliness. So this is Marge and Aaliyah. Marge and Aaliyah are not in charge of anything. They do not preside. They're simply with us in the room. The way good company is with you while you work. And their being there is probably why the next thing can be said at all. Because there is a blessing in this room and reaches past this room. We are in Lincoln, LMK. The airport ship, the name we call our community, and the thing we send each other forth as Lusory, noble kindness. Lusory is an adjective for Playful. LMK, Lusory, noble kindness. You notice that play is a voluntary embrace of unnecessary obstacles. You do not have to take the hard way. You choose it because choosing it is the game. Kindness works the same way. It is the good you did not have to do, taken up freely. The way you take up a game, you could have skipped. The blessing leaves a shape and it borrows one from across town. On the Capitol Tower stands the sower, casting seed westward toward a harvest he will never reap. Generativity with the body, hope, reaching toward a field it will never walk. The figure descends from John Francois Delay Lassaguin. I don't know, sorry. The painting that made the laboring sower monumental and dignified. The work of putting seed into the ground, one trusts without seeing it grow. So the blessing takes the sower's shape. Kindness cast wide, open country, scattered for people downstream we will never meet. That is the whole secret the winged prairie dogs were pointing at the entire time. The prairie dog digs a town for neighbors it has not met. The sower scatters seed for strangers downstream. One act, provision for the unmet, and a room full of people who can do the same if they will only take up the unnecessary good and let it go. So we say the blessing together. Marge keeps the low line, Leah keeps the high one, and the river sends it out the doors. So here's a for the 150th for Twilight Hanson, her poem, together sing the good. So the Lusory seeds for nobler living. And I believe Marge, you're up. And you will see somewhere in here it says all. If you care to participate, whoever wishes to be all can be all.
Blessed be the small kindness done in the margin where no one keeps score.
And blessed be the generative sower, casting seeds of radiant, constructive, and compassionate kindness where fields will never walk.
May we take out the necessary obstacle gladly, because that is what play is.
And clear it clean, because that is what the fun is.
Build the burrow, tend the warmth, keep the long watch.
Then rise and scatter on.
And
As the burrow shelters fingers and the seed begins the field of the seed.
Maybe kindness for a seed will never eat, and trust us around to do the rest.
go forth from Ellen K.
As ambassadors of us noble friends.
Play into the markets, generous self summer, and the kind to class seed. Some of mine, and listen to your own. Play on. Now we'll proceed with sound. We call it sound. And I'll let you guys introduce yourselves. So
Gonna start with Craig.
I'm Cosmic Craig and, the sound bath started off to give us the, mellow, nice